大家好，今天我们来聊聊中国在中美关税战中的10张王牌。这些观点来自英国政坛一位极具影响力的人物阿拉斯泰尔·坎贝尔。他曾是英国首相托尼·布莱尔的核心智囊，如今是备受关注的政治评论员与播客主持人。这次他从西方视角系统梳理了中国的反制底牌，非常值得一听。
Trump loves to say who's got the cards. He told Zelensky, you don't have any of the cards. I've worked out 10 cards that the Chinese have over the Americans in what's going on now.
Okay, go on then. Give us your 10.
Right, well, number one is that China historically and now playing a long game up against somebody who is impulsive, clearly doesn't understand trade, making it up as he goes along. They have been preparing for this kind of breach for a long time, whereas Trump's team doesn't even know what he's going to be doing day to day. So that's the first one. The second one is that the soft power damage that Trump is doing to America is opening up unexpected opportunities for improved trade and diplomacy for China. Now, Xi, as you know, is currently on a tour of Vietnam, Cambodia, and Malaysia. That was going to happen anyway, but that will be part of a reset in the region. They've already had their first economic dialogue in 5 years with Japan and South Korea, directly because Trump brought in the tariffs. And they're also, the European Union is talking about we need to get moving with China. So that's the second one. Third one, they have got powers of retaliation that we talked about this a little bit in relation to soybean when we first talked about tariffs, but they've got powers of retaliation beyond just tit for tat tariffs. So, for example, what they're doing on the global rare earths, I think is really interesting. Something like 3/4 of American rare earths come out of China, and they're slapping all sorts of export controls on the firms that send them to, say, defense, robotics, etc.
Let me come in on that quickly.
Yeah.
If we're gonna make it through 10, I'll have to come in on number 3 and then let you keep rolling on your other 7. Or this will be going things. So I think that's a really good point. So critical minerals and rare earths are absolutely vital for the modern world. So in addition to the rare earths, things like cobalt, lithium, nickel, even copper are absolutely vital for batteries above all, which powers most of the technological revolution, most of the green revolution, and absolutely vital for semiconductor chips and all the stuff that America needs for its technology. And the problem is that it's not that China just owns a huge amount of the mines around the world. So they own the mines in Democratic Republic of Congo. They have big contracts, even developed world. It's that even that stuff which China doesn't mine itself is processed in China. And the reason why it's processed in China is you don't want to be running a factory processing the stuff in the United States, because it is unbelievably not just capital investment setting up the plant, but it is massive pollution, environmental impact of running this slurry, running this processing plant. So nobody wants it. And in fact, if you tried to open those kinds of plants in Europe or the United States, you would face huge public opposition because the impact on the landscape, the environment, on water quality is unbelievable. So China has, as you say, a kind of stranglehold on that. Back to you.
Well, also on that, I mean, I didn't realize 10% of chickens in China come from America. We talked before, 50% of soybean, roughly 50% of soybean into China. So they're going to different markets now. And they're also planning to up the regulation on American companies as a way of leverage on the US. And this is my next point, is that China will think that America needs them more than they need America. So going back to your point just there, 3 years ago, America relied on China for 532 key product categories, which was 4 times the level that they relied on in 2000. China's reliance on American products cut in half by the same period. And as a result, the American market is not as important as it was to China. At the start of the first Trump trade war in 2018, American-bound exports made up 20%, almost 20% of China's total exports. 2023 down to 12.8. So that balance is changing. And they think this is my next one. They think that they helped to force the climb down on smartphones because they educated the American people, not least with some of their very funny memes. They educated the American people and American politicians about the extent to which companies like Apple were completely locked in to Chinese supply systems. So I don't know what number I'm at now, but next one, Elon Musk. They have got Elon Musk.
Okay.
And they think that's an advantage to them. Unless Trump does what Scaramucci keeps saying he's going to do, get him right outside the tent. So they think Musk was an important voice in arguing for what they were trying to do. Next point.
And the reason for that is that Musk both relies on imports from China for his goods, thinks tariffs are mad. He's been out calling Peter Navarro, who's Trump's tariff guru, Peter Retardo, in an incredibly offensive way on X. But also has opened large Tesla factories in China. So Musk is a very, very clear example of this sort of split, which we've talked about within Trump's camp. Between the sort of tech bros who tend to be very anti-tariff, often pro-immigration, particularly skilled immigration, against the sort of MAGA base that tends to lean in a very different direction. Okay, your next one.
My next one is America has given China the moral high ground, which is a rare, rare, rare achievement for them. So, and that in turn, this is actually coming out in his little tour of some of the language that President Xi Jinping is using. It gives China somebody to blame. You keep making the point that Chinese economy is not as strong as it was. Yes, it's growing, but it's not growing as fast as it was. And they've got all sorts of problems, their housing crisis, their youth unemployment crisis, and so forth. But this is giving them somebody else to blame. And when the economy goes tits up, it's always good to have somebody else to blame. And Trump is such a big figure in this debate. And they've been developing other markets. Now my last two, I think I'm up to 9. My last two, one is transshipment. And this is something Navarro's onto. He knows that what China does to get around tariffs is basically and this may be again why he's in Vietnam and Cambodia, even though they were going to get hit very hard as well, is actually that Chinese products get shipped into a country that is not under very high tariffs, and then they make their way there. And they think they're very clever at doing that because they've been clever at doing that for quite a long time. And then the final one, they believe that Trump will have to back down first. And that will be humiliating for him. And the reason for that is that they can wear rising prices in a way that the Americans can't. They could even wear a recession in the way that the Americans can't, not least because they're not a dictatorship at all. And related to that, the weakening reputation of the American dollar and the American Treasury bonds. So all of that bad news says they think Trump will back down first. There you are. There's the Chinese view.
这就是本期吴哥说事的全部内容。如果你觉得这期节目有价值，欢迎订阅我们的频道。我们下期再见。